before we even start on the notes, you're going to flip to the blank section on the back of the notes. So just flip the whole thing, and you are going to draw a chart. And I'll explain why we are drawing a chart. This was in 3.1, went over points, lines, planes. Points, no, we didn't go over points, lines, planes. It went over parallel lines, perpendicular lines, skew lines. So we're going to draw this chart. It is 4 by 4, so 4 columns by 4 rows. Trey, is the AirPod listening to me or listening to music? Okay, just check it. Just check it. So it says skew lines, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, coplanar, intersecting, and then special effects. So we're going to go through the list and decide if these lines are coplanar, are they intersecting, is there something special to know about them. We can start with skew. What does coplanar mean?
They're on the same plane.
On the same plane. Are skew lines on the same plane? No. They're not on the same plane. Do skew lines intersect? Also no. They have nothing in common, and there's nothing special about them. Nothing in common. They will never intersect. They're not on the same plane. They're just 2 random lines, and we call them skew. Second line says parallel lines. Are they on the same plane? Yes. They're on the same plane. Do they intersect? No. In order to know if they are parallel, we're going to draw our special effect. What would be drawn on them in order to know that they are parallel?
They're triangles.
Little triangles. And in your textbook, they'll be red. Hopefully you can draw better than me. And then last, perpendicular lines. Are perpendicular lines on the same plane? Yes. Do they intersect?
Yes.
Yes. And what do they do when they intersect?
90-degree angle.
And form 90. All right, and then the special fact, if you're looking at a picture and you're trying to decide if these 2 lines are indeed perpendicular, what would I look for in the picture?
The square.
The little square, a little box. Perfect. Now that we've refreshed, you can go back to the front. So it says, think of each segment in the diagram as part of a line. Remember that lines go infinitely in both directions. Which lines or planes containing point B, go ahead and underline that we want to contain point B, important information, and appear to fit this description. So we want skew to FG, including point B. So skew means it can't be on the same plane. If you look at this, FG is on the top of this shape. It's also on the back of this shape. So what line do you think will not be on the same plane and not intersect with FG? BC. I agree. Go ahead and write it in with arrows above. Do other sports use jump boxes that look like this? We use them in volleyball. A jump box. It would not be as long, but it would be this, literally the shape. Y'all don't use them?
We use the long ones.
Yeah, gotcha. We're going to use perpendicular. Perpendicular means they have to intersect and form 90. So using point B, what line would intersect and form 90? BG, I agree. intersects and forms that right angle. Now we want parallel. Parallel means it's on the same plane and does not intersect. Yeah, you could say AB or BA, it's the same. Last it says name planes parallel. But before we even do that, some of y'all still don't know how to name a plane. Plane ABC.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it was you, but not at all. I'm just grading your test yesterday. Some still don't write the word plane. It's very important.
But I thought that we had
Nope, every time.
I think one time like we were writing something down and you weren't writing plane, I was writing plane. I don't know.
I can't think of a time I haven't named a plane with the word plane. But you know what? We're breaking that habit for you. We're helping you right here, right now. 8 weeks into the year. It's okay.
Did you get on my test?
I did not grade the in-class. I didn't put a grade on the in-class students. I did grade the virtual. Virtual, yours is already up on Big Ideas. You can review it. Anyways, my afternoon got crazy yesterday. We're going to name a pair of parallel lines. And looking at this picture, we're actually going to name, there's two pairs. We're going to name both. What should I be looking for to find parallel? Okay, the little triangles. So I see this one, which is the first one I looked at. It's got one triangle right here. So it's going to be parallel to the other line with one triangle. So we're going to name them. I can't zoom in, so I'm doing the best I can to write neat. Let's name the top line. How many points are on this top line?
2.
There's 3.
3.
Where's the third?
And
yeah. Yeah, remember when a bunch of lines, and there's 6 here. Remember when a bunch of lines intersect, they're not going to put a dot there, because then it would be all these lines, a dot, and a right angle. It'd be a hot mess. So just keep that in mind. What do we want to name this line? Sure, yeah. All right, WX, what does the parallel symbol look like?
2 straight lines.
2 vertical straight lines.
Yeah.
And then let's name this bottom YZ.
Sound like a rap name. YZ.
You sound like a rap name. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. And then the last 2, again, it only said name a pair, but we're going to name both because these are our notes and not an assignment. Both of these lines have 2 triangles and 2 triangles. That means they're parallel to each other. So let's name this first line. What do we want to name it? The UV is parallel. The second line is QR. Good. Number 6, name a pair of perpendicular lines. So what am I looking for in this picture to find perpendicular lines? The box at right angle. I'm just going to highlight what the box sits on, what both sides of them sit on. All right, so name this first one. What do we name this line? This first line? ST.
Oh.
What does the perpendicular symbol look like? Upside down T?
Yeah.
All right, and then we're going to name the second line. We can name it, sure. Good. The last thing we're going to do is answer some questions. It says, is WX, what does that symbol mean again? Is WX parallel to QR? No, there's 2 reasons why I would accept either. What's one reason? They intersect. What's the other reason? Yeah, they do have triangles, but they don't match the number of triangles. One has 1 triangle and the other one has 2 triangles. So even if I didn't watch them intersect, I would still see that they're not parallel because one has 1 triangle and the other has 2. And then the last question says is ST perpendicular, so ST perpendicular to NV. That would mean they have to intersect and form 90. So here's what you want to remember. How many degrees is this from here to here? 180. How much is taken up by this right angle? 90. So then all of this angle needs to be 90, because 90 plus 90 is 180. So are these two lines perpendicular to each other? They are. And then when it says explain, you're just going to use the definition. They intersect and form 90. They intersect and form 90. All right, so here's where we learn new terms. You just got to work with me. The first one sounds like a scary word, and it is not. So you ready? Reagan, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Transversal. Sounds ridiculous. It sounds like something you have no idea what it is, but it is a line. That's all it is. It's a specific line. So the definition you're going to write down, it is a line that intersects two or more lines at different points. It is a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at different points. It is a line that intersects two or more lines at different points. So you can have, these are three separate pictures. A transversal is one line that touches two or more lines. That's it. So in this first one, all the way to the left, okay, the transversal is this line because it touches two other lines. That's all it is. In this picture, it is this line, if I could highlight correctly, because it touches two other lines. And then in this picture, it is the one line, I just can't draw. It is the one line that touches three lines. That's all it is a line. It forms special relationships, okay? And these relationships are what we're going to talk about on page 2. You have already talked about some of them. So page 2. So flip. This is where you need your highlighters. Marion, did you write that you don't have highlighters? I need you to write it before you leave today. Because you need it's required. So, special relationships are formed. Special relationships are formed. Two of them you already know. We're just going to talk about them, and then we'll move on from them. Okay? Because I feel like we've beaten a dead horse. This is just showing you that it can also look like this, even though I just drew a bunch of pictures, where this would be the transversal. Here's transversal. It is just one line. That's all. So, in this section, you'll need to remember linear pairs. If you look, that is the top right box. We're not going to highlight anything at this very second. You've got a picture that looks like this, right? Here's what I want you to write down in the box. Linear pairs, they are adjacent. They are adjacent. What does adjacent mean? They share the same wall. And then even more important, so I'd write it larger and make it more known, is that they are also supplementary. That tells me their measures. All 6 of these relationships that we're going to go over on this paper, they're either supplementary or congruent. Those are the only 2 options, and we will talk about them. We're just going to list these because if we sat here and highlighted, you would have a blob of color, and we would not be very efficient. Looking at this top section, what is angle 1 a linear pair with?
2.
Angle 2. What else is angle 2 a linear pair with?
4.
Angle 4. What else is 4 a linear pair with?
3.
Angle
Do you
3.
need to write that?
I would, just to refresh. We're writing it in the same linear box. Yes, ma'am. And then the last one, 3, is also linear with 1. In the bottom section, some of them are also a linear pair. There's a lot of linear pairs. What is 5 a linear pair with? 6. So 5 and 6. What is 6 also a linear pair with? 8. 8 is also a linear pair with 7. And then 7 and 5. If you'd like to highlight one example, you can do that. Like in the top, you could highlight, angle 1 and angle 2 if you wanted to do that. Just an example of it. They're right next to each other. They're supplementary, not new information. All right, the next one, vertical angles. So what I want you to write, vertical angles are across from each other. So they're across from each other, and they share a vertex. They're across from each other. They share a vertex. And then what do I know about their measures?
It's like 2 and 2.
What word is that? Nope.
Congruent.
Congruent. So even larger than anything else you wrote in this box. Just write that they are congruent. Make it a big deal because it's going to matter in 2 seconds when we learn about other angles. Vertical angles are congruent. Congruent. This one you can highlight with 2 colors. What is 1 a vertical with?
Oh, 4. Whoa, 4.
Wow, 1 and 4. Sorry, I'm not looking at this picture. Looking at this one. Is that what you were doing?
No, I was still rusty.
Yeah. Okay.
I was still stuck on the first linear here.
Okay. 1 and 4. 2 and 3. So you can take your highlighters and do that. Just to be helpful later on in life, if you only have 2 colors, the next set that you do, just do them the same way as me. Whatever color you did 2 in, do the same for 6. What is 6 going to be vertical with? 7. I'll explain why in a little bit, but right now, just make sure that 2 and 6 are the same color. And then whatever the other color was, 5 and 8 are vertical as well. And vertical angles are congruent. Perfect. Now we learned 4 new ones. None of that was really new information. You learned what a transversal was. But this is what's new. This is what we're going to do on our whiteboards in 2 seconds. There are 4 relationships formed, and 3 of them sound pretty redundant. There's only one that's like special and new. And that is corresponding. It is the first, it's on the left, middle left of your notes. Corresponding, what I'm going to have you write is that there are 2 angles that occupy, I'm going to put the same spot. Same spots. So go ahead and write that into the box. 2 angles that occupy the same spots. This is where it gets colorful. 2 angles that occupy the same spots. If your friend has a color that you don't, because there's going to be 4 colors. I'm just throwing it out there. So here's what's going to happen. There's 2 intersections going on here. There's this intersection of the transversal, which is this line, and this line. Intersection is where 2 things cross. There's also this intersection. Everyone see it? We just got 2 of them. Corresponding means they're on the same spot in their intersection. So what angle is in the top left of this first intersection? Tell me on your page. What number is this? Top left. 1. So 1 is going to correspond with the top left in the other intersection, which is 5. Yeah. 1 and 5, they're both in the top left of their intersections. So with 1 color, I would highlight 1 and 5. They are corresponding because they are both in the top left. All right, so then with another color, 2 and 6. So 2 and 6. Both are in the top right. They're corresponding. They're in the same spot. 3 and 7. And then 4 and 8. 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. It's beautiful. So basically what you can remember is that the first intersection is literally copied and pasted down here. That makes sense? So whatever 1 is, 5 will be. Whatever 2 is, 6 will be. Because think about this. If they're in the same spot, what can you guess about their measures? They're going to be the same. What word do we use in geometry for same measure? Congruent. So you're going to write in this box that they're going to be congruent because if 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then a pair of corresponding angles will be congruent. So you're going to write the word congruent, and I'd make it a pretty big deal in the box somewhere. Congruent. They are the same measure because it's the same angle, just lower down or higher up. Corresponding.
Wait, corresponding or congruent?
Corresponding are congruent. Corresponding is the name of their relationship. And congruent is what their measures are going to be. They're going to be the same measures.
So just write congruent.
Yep, just make sure they know they're congruent. This is not on your notes. This was just an example, just so you could see. Your notes all look the same where the transversal is up and down like this. So I just want to make sure you've seen a transversal that looks like this. Which of these lines is the transversal? Line N, yeah. Good. So corresponding means they're on the same spot. So what is 2 going to be corresponding with on the other intersection? 2 and 6, 1 and 5, 3 and 7, which means 4 and 8. Perfect. That is the first. That is the more unique. The other ones, they really repeat each other. So, alternate interior angles. When you think of the word interior, you think of inside. You think about what?
The interior in a car.
Okay, well, that's the inside of a car.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, 2 angles that are on the inside. You're writing this in. They're on the inside. That's where the word interior comes from. 2 angles that are on the inside of the double lines. And on opposite sides, that's where the word alternating comes from. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. So alternate interior. They're 2 angles that are on the inside of the double lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. There are 2 angles that are on the inside of the double lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. This one you only need 2 colors. The rest of them there's only 2 colors. So here's what I show my students to help them figure out what's on the inside. If you connect the double lines, it forms like a box. If it's on the inside of the box, that's called interior. So on the outside of the box, those are called exterior. Okay, so here's what happens. They're the 2 angles that are inside the box and on opposite sides of the transversal. Here's the transversal, right? So what angle is this one? Is it 3? 3. 3 is on the left side of the transversal. So the alternate interior is going to be on the bottom right. So 6. So 3 and 6. So with 1 color, you're going to highlight 3 and 6.
Wait, in our test, will those numbers be there, or will we figure it out ourselves? Well, there's no numbers on the, or there
You'll have to
was.
figure it out yourself. You'll have to know what relationship they are.
Okay, so we'll have to know like where 1, 2, 3, 4, all them.
No, you don't have to memorize the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. No, they're just placeholders for the whatever measure they are. All right, so 3 and 6, 4 and 5. So with your other color, 4 and 5. A common mistake I see people make is that they look at this and they go, well, 3 and 4 are on the inside of the box and on opposite sides of the transversal. But they're not alternate interior. Because what relationship do 3 and 4 have? They're adjacent, which means they are a linear pair. They're a linear pair. They're not alternate interior. Okay, so make sure when you're alternating, it's like going diagonal. So 3 and 6, 4 and 5. All right, so again, if 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the alternate interior angles are congruent. Let's go ahead and write congruent in this box. Congruent. Which means what, Reagan?
They're the same thing.
They're the same measure. Yeah, they're going to be the same measure. So in my picture, what numbers are on the inside of the double lines?
3, 6, 4, 5.
Good. 3, 6, 4, and 5. So what would be alternate interior with 4? 6. And then 3 would be with 5. Okay. 3 and 5, 4 and 6. Good. All right, and then the next one is alternate exterior. So what do you think is the only difference? They're on the outside. So alternate exterior is the same thing. There are two angles. They're on the outside. So that's where the exterior comes from. They're on the outside of the double lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So there are two angles that are on the outside of the double lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So there are two angles that are on the outside of the double lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. All right, so I didn't do anything yet. Okay, no.
Okay.
We stay on the slide for a bit. So on the outside of the double lines, so 3, 4, 5, 6 are on the inside, so we're not looking at those. We're looking on the outside, and they will be on opposite sides of the transversal. So what number is in the top left?
1.
1. It is going to be alternate exterior with 8. Good, that is 1 and 8. 1 and 8. Because 1 is on the left side of the transversal, 8 is on the right side of the transversal, and then 2 and 7. 2 and 7. We're not quite done. It could also look like this. If it looked like this picture, what numbers would be on the outside? This second picture. Yeah. 1, 3, 6, 8 would be on the outside. What would be alternate exterior with 1? 8, and then 3 and 6. Good. We're going to learn about the measures. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the alternate exterior angles are congruent. So go ahead and write in congruent. All right, there's the last one. It's called consecutive interior. So where are these angles located? Inside. So these are now alternating across the transversal. What will happen, however, is that they're on the inside of the double lines and on the same side of the transversal. So they're on the inside of the double lines and on the same side of the transversal. Inside of the double lines and on the same side of the transversal. So two angles that are on the inside of the double lines and on the same side of the transversal. So, again, you can draw that box to just figure out what's on the inside. So name an angle on the inside. 3. 3 is on the left side of the transversal, so it's consecutive with 5. 3 and 5. And then 4 and 6. They're consecutive interior. This is the last one, I promise. There's no more highlighting after this, I don't think. Well, one time at the end. It's the very end, though. We do whiteboard in a second. So 3 and 5, 4 and 6. So, here's what you need to know about their measures. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So these are supplementary. Supplementary.
Did we write that down?
So you write in supplementary. So I'm not here to tell you what to do with your life, but I would like to make your life easier. And if this were me and I were taking this class, if you notice, there are 6 boxes on this paper. 2 of them are bolded. What do they have in common that the other ones do not? They're both supplementary. And the rest of them are congruent. So I think the easier thing to be would be to memorize which are supplementary, and the rest would be congruent. So what I would do with your highlighter is I would just highlight the outlined box, the part that's already bolded. I would just highlight it just so you would be able to see it and say, boom, linear pairs are supplementary, consecutive interior are supplementary.
Well, which other one's supplementary?
The ones that are bolded under here. Look at the boxes. Which boxes?
Oh.
These, they're both supplementary. You put supplementary. I'm not laughing at you. It's terrible. So I would have just bolded these 2, like around that.
I was just saying because they're already bolded, so I was just gonna make what's green.
What's congruent? Okay, you do you. We'll practice on here, and then we're gonna go to the whiteboards. All right. So what numbers are on the inside of my picture?
3, 4, 6, 5.
3, 4, 6, and 5. So name an angle on the inside. 3. What is 3 consecutive interior with? 6. They're on the top of the transversal, and 4 and 5 are on the bottom. Okay, perfect. You're going to take out your whiteboard. Virtual students, I can see you too, so you're free. You are participating.
Look at some teams going.
So, not quite. We're going to practice. I would highly recommend keeping your notes out on this page, page 2. I'm going to show you 2 angles. Yep, we're here. I'm going to show you 2 angles like this, and it says identify each pair of angles as vertical, linear, corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. And then tell me if they're congruent or supplementary. Here's how I can help you, and I'll talk you through this first one. That's 6 choices. So if you aren't very comfortable with them, it's going to take you a while to choose an answer. Here's an easy way to think about it. Are they both on the inside of the double lines? No. So guess which ones it's not. Either of the interiors. Are they both on the exterior? No. So guess which one it's not. Not on the exterior, so it's not alternate exterior. You have 3 choices left. I would do that every time to figure out which one remains.
We couldn't do it?
Yep.
Right
So
there.
you tell me what relationship they have, and then if they're congruent or supplementary. Yep, you can show me. It's half right. Possibly. These wrote really close together. You're correct. Correct. Here's what's back here, right? Yes, but then tell me if it's congruent or supplementary. Ashton, you're correct on. You're half correct.
Wait, congruent means they're on the same line, right? So it's like why?
No, congruent means they're the same measure. You wrote it on your paper.
I know.
Correct. Half is correct.
I'm still just. How do we tell whether it's congruent?
You have to memorize it. You have to memorize it. But also you can use your brain slightly because, not in a mean way, I'm not saying that. Look at this slice and compare it to this slice. It's either congruent or supplementary. Do they look like they're the same pivot? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. So they're congruent. You can use your eyes. I wouldn't always rely on that, but it should make sense that this one is, like if you were offered this slice of cake and that slice of cake, one of them is definitely bigger than the other. So they're not congruent. Those would be supplementary. Those are the only 2 options with transversals. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
So if you were taking a quiz, would you have to know what the learning here and then like
Yes, ma'am. Because we're about to add numbers to this. Like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
all I'm saying is we're about to add, if they're congruent, they're going to be the same measure. So, like, what relationship do these 2 have? I'm sorry. And you're correct. They're corresponding, which means they're congruent. So if instead of y it said 30 degrees, I would ask you what x is, and it'd be 30 degrees. So we're going to add numbers to it. Tomorrow there will be some algebra to it too. But for today, we're just learning the names and if they're congruent or supplementary. depending on how far we get. We got 10 minutes left. Identify each pair of angles as vertical angles, linear pair, corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. Not quite. Correct. Correct. You gotta tell me interior or exterior. Did you put pair? Or did you write a word? I just can't read that from back. You wrote it. Okay, sorry.
Dang.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are you congruent like
Whoop.
that?
Okay, Trey, you're good. Ashton, you're good. Sorry, I was walking around. Good. So, are they both on the inside or both on the outside? They're both on the outside, and they're alternating across the transversal. Y is on the Y is on the right side of the transversal, and X is on the left side. So, alternate exterior, which makes them congruent. Next one, it says identify each pair, and then tell me congruent or supplementary.
No.
Remember that they would have to share a vertex. They would have touched the vertex. Correct. Correct.
Oh, I did the wrong thing. Sure.
Ashton, you're half correct. 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 You're half correct. Correct. Are they both on the inside or both on the outside? Sorry, Anj, I just couldn't read it. It was moving. So one's on the inside, one's on the outside. So it can't be any of the interior or exterior because this one's on the inside, this one's on the outside. So then vertical angles would touch the vertex. Do they share a vertex? No. So they aren't vertical. Linear pair would have to have a wall between them. Are they a linear pair? No. So corresponding would be in the same spot. Y is in the bottom right, is X in the bottom right. Yes, so corresponding, and it is congruent. Next. Yep, these two. Identify each pair of angles, then tell me if it's congruent or supplementary. So at least write 3 letters for the second one, but you're correct. 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 You're correct. Sorry, I didn't know this. Correct. Good. And then Trey, you're good. Good. They're consecutive interior, which means they are supplementary. If you are going to shorten it, you need to write int. You have to say both in order for it to count. Consec and then int. And then alternate interior, if you want to abbreviate it, alt int and then alt ext. You get it? Corresponding, I would like until the letter P, chorus. Yeah. Next one. Give me 2 seconds. Check your location. Correct. Check your location. Correct. Now it's better. Good. And not quite, Trey. Ashton, correct. Good. So they are both on the inside, and X is on the left side of the transversal. Right? Because here's a transversal. X is on the left and Y is on the right. They're both on the inside of the double lines, so alternate interior.
Peace out.
Here's the next one. I think this is the last one, then we go back to notes for a hot second. This one? Yes. Okay. Just checking.
Oh.
Yes. So they don't share a wall. Like they don't have a wall like sandwiched between them. You're correct, Trey. And Jakara, you're correct. And then you tell me if it's congruent or supplementary. Correct. Good. Good. They are both on the outside. They're alternating, alternate exterior, and they're congruent. Good job, Ashton. All right, we're going to go back to the notes for one more minute, and then we'll see if we can do a question or two on the whiteboards. So go to page 3. I think that's the next page we're on, right? You'll have a question like this on a quiz or a test. It doesn't take very much. It just says the measures of the measure of 3 of the numbered angles are 120. Identify the angles and explain your reasoning. So, 3 of these angles are 120 degrees. We need to decide which ones are, and then explain your reasoning. Does it really mean explain your reasoning? It means explain your reasoning. Why did you know that they were 120 degrees? So what angle is going to be 120? So we'll start with 4 is 120. Why did we know angle 4 was 120? Because vertical angles are congruent. Good. So you can write shorthand. Vertical angles are congruent. That's our reasoning. Reagan said another one. What else is 120 degrees? I'm getting there. So we got angle 4 because they're vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. We have angle 5. What relationship does 5 have with 120? They're corresponding, and we know corresponding angles are congruent. And then last, angle 8. What relationship does angle 8 have with 120? They're alternate exterior, which we know are also congruent. So all of that is our answer. Just like that. Tell me your reasoning. You tell me that blank angles are congruent. Here's what you're going to do with one highlighter. I said this. We were going to highlight one more time, and this is it. Want to make your life easy. All of these angles are either 120 degrees or they're 60. How did you know that they would be 60? Yeah. So 2 angles next to each other have to add up to 180. So 120 plus 60 is 180. So let's highlight in one color all of the angles that we just said are 120 degrees. So 120, we said 4, 5, and 8. So we're doing that in one color. And then in your second color, all of the remaining angles will be 3, 2, 7, and 6. 3, 2, 7, 6. So if you notice, this intersection and this intersection are identical. You could copy this one and place it right here, and it would be the same exact thing. Okay, we are going to stop here.